Welcome to day 11. Hi, I am Teresa Rodden, author, coach, and advocate for women to break free from the need to misuse alcohol, to help them break free from the limiting beliefs, the half-truths, and the outright lies that have been told to them by society, perhaps by themselves, or they adopted from a generation. Today, I want to lead you through day 11 on Explore, a 28-day journal. And the reason why I've put this work together is because I think it's important that we stop thinking about drinking or not drinking and instead put our time and our attention, our energy into focusing on what it is that we do want. There's so many scriptures and quotes from philosophers that say, put your energy onto what you want and not onto what you don't. And yet we practice that very little. In the traditional path when overcoming a habit with alcohol always has us concentrating on counting the days that we don't drink. And instead, I invite you to focus on making your days count. So, as I said, today is day 11 on Explore, the 28-day journal. This is the book. And I go through this introduction every time just in case somebody is watching this video first. I want them to understand what's going on and not be confused by the questions that are asked by the journal entry. So we start with the introduction. The introduction, it explains what holy sober means to me, how I view sober as the true origin of the word, and I don't look at it as abstinence. I think learning, and it goes into more depth than that, but I think when we change the way that we're looking at what sober means, it invites us and empowers us and encourages us and inspires us to live a more fulfilling life. Okay. Just going through the drill, the introduction. The next segment is the power of conscious choice for lasting change. This, I share a little process and practice that I utilized to break my habit of drinking, break my habit of smoking. And I actually use it a lot when I'm trying to break, when I'm in a really tough spot, when I'm in a lot of pain and I need to start the healing process. I actually practice these steps. And then the last segment before we get into the actual journal entries is a little guide how to create a really warm and inviting journaling process and space. Today is day 11. Oops, grabbing the wrong page. Day 11. I'm excited about today. I'm excited about every day. That's just the way I choose to live. So day 11 is, we start with our today I make a conscious choice to, always being aware that we are intentionally making the decisions that move us through our days instead of just going through autopilot. I choose this because being aware of what leads us to make the choices that we make and not just live by default, and how this supports my 28-day intention. And I don't want you concentrating on how many days you don't drink or how many drinks you've had in a day. I want you to instead concentrate on the quality of your thoughts, the quality of your choices, the quality of your life. It's all about making this one wild and precious life of yours amazing. And then every day we have a little Holy Sober insight. That might be an excerpt from my first book, Holy Sober, or it could just be some insight from another client or from me. And if I am using client information, it's always with very specific approval. They've said, yes, you may use this. Okay, a little Holy Sober insight. Giving up on sobriety because you think your sober time goes back to zero just because you drank is a rule that does not inspire or encourage change. Holy Sober is not about drinking or not drinking. It's about the quality of your life and getting the most from it. Oh, I already said that. I'm brilliant. Oh, I guess I did create this, but So your writing prompt today, writing prompt, you always have a writing prompt, so you don't have to start journaling alone and start with a blank space. So you have that little reading that kind of helps get your brain working. And then the writing prompt, all you have to do is follow the ellipsis and ... So I want to celebrate my living by... Now, wonder what I meant by that. Why didn't I use I want to celebrate my life? And I think it's I say that a lot, and I think it's important because there's a difference between the two. Life is the time, the state of being between birth and death. Where living, my living is being alive. It's being awake, aware, intentional. It's being active. It's being animated. It's being engaged. And that's where I want you to be. I want you to really be concentrating. How am I really, we don't get a do-over. So what is it that's in your heart that you really want to try? I can tell you, when I first got sober, I went into default mode, survival mode. And I touched on this a while back, where I had a construction company, a cleaning company, and a dealer's license to sell manufactured homes. And I had to file bankruptcy on all of these because they weren't truly my businesses. They were Prince Harming's businesses, but they were all in my name because he was such a bad guy. I know. How did you fall for that? It's a long story. It's in Holy Sober. But the truth of the matter is, they weren't my business. That way, I'd never been somebody who's been a contractor before. Now, by the end of it, I was able to hang sheetrock and lay tiles and do all those things because I wanted to know how to do those things, but that wasn't my forte. That wasn't what I enjoyed doing. I had been a corporate salesperson, and I loved developing relationships. That was my strength. That was my passion. And we had contracts that needed to close up. And so I went into survival mode of how could I make the money the fastest, because I had no money. When Prince Harming was removed from my life, I had no money. I had all these contracts that were open, so I had to close as many that I could possibly close. And that was like cleaning out manufactured homes. And they were disgusting and they were awful. We're talking about people who were wanting to leave their homes, but they were bitter about it. So they would crap in the bathtub. They would, one of them had used the bathtub as a cat litter. There was garbage and filth and food all over the place. It was just a really disgusting environment. And rarely did you walk into a manufactured home where all you had to do was clean things off. It was always required renting a big U-Haul truck so you can take a bunch of stuff to the dump. In order to close up those contracts, I couldn't do that by myself, so I took it to my community, and part of that community was my AA sponsor who wanted to make some fun money. So she joined me in doing a couple of these, and then I was dissolving the companies, and she suggested that we start another company together, and then we could do these contracts. I hated it, but it was a means to an end. And okay, well, if my sponsor was like my God at the time. She could do no wrong. I'd never been sober before, didn't know what was going on here. So if she says it, it must be true. If she's suggesting it, I must be on my way. I mean, right? If my sponsor wants to go into business with me, I must be okay. Long story short, because I want to bring this all back to doing what I want to do. Within a couple of months, the contracts dried up because actually that industry, the manufactured home repossessed industry, was bottoming out. The finance companies were going belly up. And so there was no more contracts. So that meant there was no more money. So that meant I needed to get a job. And so when I went looking for a job, I went looking for something that I was really interested in. And that's where I started. And it made an enemy of my sponsor because I was bailing on this company that we had started together. but I had to get a job in order to survive. But if I was going to get a job, I wanted to have a job that I really enjoyed. Now, that didn't turn out happily ever after. I got a job as a weight loss coach for LA Weight Loss, and it was a numbers game. They didn't want you building relationships. They wanted you to get the customer in and out, in and out, in and out, get as many people, sell as many bars as you could. So what I thought I was doing, I really, really loved, but what it came out to be, it was the smoke and mirrors. It wasn't truly connecting with people. It was really about just selling. And so then I had to find what else could I do? Well, I'd never been a corporate salesperson as a sober person, so I was really excited about trying that. And that didn't work out so well. I made more money for them than they'd ever made in that territory. But I was good at developing those relationships, but I hated the company that I worked for. It's not the company that I worked for, but it was a lot of misogyny. It was a lot of good old boy, but I just kept trying though. I kept experimenting, and that's what I want to invite you to do. Take risks. That's what being alive is about. It's really about trying, experimenting, being willing to be wrong. I coined a phrase while I was in life coaching training back in 2009 of wrongable. Allow yourself to be wrongable. Don't always shoot for perfection and to get it right. Try it. I'm curious, what would this do if I did this? Oops, I was wrong. And allow yourself that grace and that space to just try. Let's see what else. Long story short, I went into jewelry sales. I went into health coaching for myself. I realized I hated diets, hated diet mentality. And then I went into life coaching, and that's where I started finding my groove. I really love empowering and encouraging women. And then, but I hated what I was seeing in the industry around the alcohol, that everybody was being shamed and feared or leading with fear, and it didn't work for me. So I knew I wasn't an anomaly. So I kept pursuing and developing a language around what I do today. But that wasn't, that didn't come out of a box or out of a book. I had to develop all of that on my own. Taking risks is not just about doing things. It's also about allowing your true feelings to be known. It's also about saying what you really feel. So something that's worked with Rich and I, who's my husband, and we've been together for as long as we've been sober, and normally that doesn't work out so well because we were only a couple months sober when we got together. But we've had clean communication from the start. If he does something that hurts me, I don't just pat it down. I said, hey, that hurts, and this is why. And this is what I would have rather you said if you needed to communicate that to me. And he didn't know how to communicate either. So it was really, we had to allow each other grace, and we did that really, really well. Now we've had moments we've had 2 different occasions, maybe 3 over the last 16 years, where things escalated really fast, but that's because I will not accept anything that is disrupting my peace. And we need to be clear on what our boundaries are. So allow yourself to explore, allow yourself to experiment, allow yourself to be wrong, allow yourself to be wrong and vulnerable and take these risks, but also be very clear about what your boundaries are. What are non-negotiables? And for me, a non-negotiable is any time that I'm feeling my peace disrupted. Anytime where I'm having to worry about what somebody's thinking, I'm going to call it out and say, what are you thinking? Because I'm not getting a good vibe here. What your writing prompt is today, I want to celebrate my living by, and that's not a mistake that I wrote living and not life, because living, again, is being alive. It's being animated. It's being engaged. It's doing. It's being. It's not just life, which is what you have. It's doing. being. So yesterday we let go of disappointment and doubt. And today, instead, we're going to call in. This is what we're going to do. We're going to call in with the bay leaf. Oh, see? What we're calling in is courage to explore and go after our vision of our highest self. I got goosebumps. I'm calling this in for myself. I'm calling this in for you. I want you to have courage. Reach into your heart, grab that courage, and explore who it is you want to be, how you want to live, what you want to do, who you want to be with. Life is short. We only get one. Make it the best possible. Okay. Our closing quote today is know the rules well so you can break them effectively. Dalai Lama 14. Isn't that great? Know the rules so you can break them. I love it. I love it. Wise man. Okay, so we're going to burn. We're burning. We're calling in courage. Calling it in. And that's it today, gals. I really enjoyed having you here. For those that are watching now and those that are watching later.